victims and witnesses of any hate-related incident to report it to law enforcement. This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Division, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
Good morning, Las Vegas. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another edition of the Mark Hoke Show. And as you can tell by my raspy tone, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, but that's okay. Because we do what we got to do. Crazy week in pro wrestling and a wild 24 hours. Boy, I'll tell you what, a lot happening. WWE Elimination Chamber, New Japan, TNA, just going down everywhere. And we're going to bring it all to you in the next 2 hours here on KDAWN 1015 FM, the Talk of Las Vegas, the Odyssey app. If you're not in the area, you can download that app and check us out. And of course, we're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So wherever you need to listen to us and check us out, we're there for you. And we'd love to have you get in that chat box and say hi to us too. So if you want to go on YouTube and Facebook and say hi to us, we'd certainly appreciate it. And when I say us, I would be remiss if I did not bring in our good friend from Austin, Texas, who is coming in back-to-back weeks. I'll tell you what, we don't get to do this very often, but Stu is stepping in here for me this week. Stu Myrick, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, is back on the show for a back-to-back engagement to join us here and help me get through this show so I don't die. Stu, how are you?
I'm good, man. It is a absolutely gorgeous day here in the Lone Star capital, and glad to join you back-to-back weeks. Never spent so much time in Las Vegas, so hey, let's do this.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll double or nothing and maybe some other things. What you ought to do is you ought to come out for TNA.
That's a possibility. I'll have to see. I've got my spring and into summer has gotten booked up all of a sudden. It starts next weekend. I'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina for AEW Revolution. The fan in me, of course, I want to see Sting's last match. I've watched Sting going all the way back to the early to mid 80s when he and Jim Hellwig, later known as the Ultimate Warrior, were the Blade Runners in Mid-South Wrestling, Bill Watts territory. And I have followed Sting's career every step it has taken. And so it's going to be emotional to see his final match in Greensboro where he made his name, that 45-minute time limit draw with Ric Flair, the very first Clash of Champions. So that's going to be a big one, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be a terrific pay-per-view coming up next week. I mean, just a jam-packed schedule and the road to WrestleMania. Boy, that's closing in on us faster than we could ever imagine. I mean, it just seems like, we were talking about Cody Rhodes and Royal Rumble just, a couple of weeks ago, and here we are. Oh man, it just never stops, Stu. It never stops.
You're right. I mean, we will be, I guess we're about 5 weeks away from WrestleMania in Philadelphia, the home of those dastardly Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey.
Those
stinking
Philadelphia. I say this in jest. I have several friends that played for the Eagles. And I can't go too hard on them, but as a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan, it's kind of like, it's not quite as mandated as a lifelong Longhorn. I can't like anything that deals with that school north of the Red River. But Philadelphia, that ranks right under them. So,
well, if you want to root for Satan's team, that's okay. That's your call. You do what you want, but
Sure. I get
God likes the Eagles, so
I get it.
that's why the grass is green.
I
That's why the grass
mentioned
is green.
I sure. I'll mention in fact one of the funny ironic things is that when AEW comes to town, or back in the day WWE, and Jim Ross was on the mic. Of course, Jim Ross's entrance music is that stinking Boomer Sooner. And of course, he gets cheered everywhere except one place. And it's not that we're booing Jim Ross, we're booing that stupid song.
Well, you'll survive.
Because it is 10:11 a.m. Central, and OU still sucks.
Yep, that happens.
So,
yeah, I got a little bitterness towards Oklahoma too, but I'm past it. I'm a Penn State guy, so we tangle with those boys a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all good. I'm slightly with you on that.
Okay,
slightly.
I like it.
But yeah. So of course we are just coming off. Wow, I mean, what a crazy 16 hours that was, Stu. I do a little sports report thing. We call it the 2 count, and I do that for one of our sister stations here, The Bet. And I almost regretted having to record that thing ahead of time. But as I was getting ready to record that, I think I had to do it at about 8:30 Pacific time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there saying to myself, man, I wish I had time to do this at about 6:00 in the morning on Saturday, which was just, there was no way I was coming to the station to do that. But I had already seen a couple title changes come up, and we're going to get into some of those. But that was a wild 16 hours of pro wrestling that just took place. I mean, wow.
You're absolutely right. Between, of course, like you mentioned, Elimination Chamber in Australia, New Japan had their show, and I think it was Okada's final show.
Mm-hmm.
You also had TNA with No Surrender. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was news breaking. Every time you look down, oh, something else is happening. So, the ironic thing, I think Elimination Chamber was the least surprising, show of them all. I mean, it went pretty much how everybody expected, but that's okay. But yeah, the rest of it, needless to say, it raised some eyebrows, that's for sure.
Well, let's start on Elimination Chamber because, as you said, it was, I think, and, you were on the show last week, and then we had Matt Black on, and it's funny. I had asked Matt, do you see any surprises coming out of this? And he said, no. And yeah, we were pretty much right on that. Not too many things jarred anybody's senses out of that card. The first thing that I will say, though, is an interesting trend that I think WWE has kind of caught on to here, is taking these, I don't want to say lower level, but not as important premium live events, and taking them overseas, which I think is a pretty smart move. We just had Backlash go over to Puerto Rico. We had the Clash at the Castle, which, didn't see a lot of, had some great matches, but didn't see any real major title changes. And they're taking them to places where WWE doesn't get to go very often. So you're going to get a huge fan turnout because, when's WWE going back to Perth, Australia? Tell me when.
Yeah.
So those fans are desperate to get a chance to see those people live. So, first, I think it's a really smart move of them to take these cards and put them on in places where you're not going to get to see them very often, and boom, go the ticket sales, as opposed to doing it in the U.S. where the fans, I don't want to say we don't appreciate it, but you're not packing a stadium for Elimination Chamber.
You're right. I mean, it's, bringing the, I'll say the B level premium live events. We're not talking WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, or Survivor Series. They've got a show coming up in France. They've got one coming up in Germany. Of course, they'll still have their Saudi Arabia shows. they work out these deals, and in a lot of it, and we saw it with Elimination Chamber, they will work out a deal with the tourism, side of that local government. So, these events also become like, 3-hour long commercials for people to go to wherever they are.
Yeah.
Australia, France, Germany, whatever. And we saw it all the time with Saudi Arabia. We'll still see it. We did see some of it with Perth, and I've, look, I love Australia. I got to go there when I was a young lad in the United States Army and spent 6 weeks there, and I loved it. I was in Darwin. I was up in the Northern Territories, but still such a wonderful, wonderful country, and I'd love to go back. But you bring those events there. I think it also raises the profile of those events. They because WWE wants to put on a really good card for when they go overseas. So it is a win-win, not only, for WWE as well as for that country, that city, in order to boost their tourism and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, while it did take up a lot of time in the broadcast, it sure made me want to think about going over there. The video packages were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you too. It does make it seem like it's a bigger event than maybe what it would be in the US. And it makes it feel like, wow, WWE, this is international. This is something really special. And WWE is, really a global organization.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a win-win. I think that's a great point, Stu, that you bring up about that. So it's intriguing, the opportunity that I think WWE is taking to take these overseas. And, we noticed it, I noticed it a couple of years ago when they first started doing that. And then Tony Khan taking All In over to Wembley. The doors are open there to really take professional wrestling outside of the US. Now, I don't know if you want to tap that spigot too often, and go crazy with it, but I'm concerned maybe with All In doing that there every year. I don't know. I'm curious, but because I know I think they sold about 40,000 tickets already though. So,
right.
So I think you got to be careful with it, but at the same time, it's a big world, a lot of places to go.
Well, and let's All In is still 5 months away, 6 months away. So, 50,000 tickets sold for an event that is 6 months away. We have no idea what the card's going to look like. It still speaks to how hot pro wrestling is, especially, US based pro wrestling in other parts of the world. Now, admittedly, AEW, they do the US and Canada almost primarily. They don't go overseas except All In London at Wembley. TNA used to go overseas quite a bit. They don't go overseas very often. Again, they're, same thing, US and Canada. I mean, Anthem Sports Entertainment is a Canadian based company. So, and that's kind of where, WWE sets itself apart, among other things, is their ability to take shows overseas on a regular basis, and not only to the same spot, but to different places. When you mentioned the Clash at the Castle in Wales, and of course, like I said, Germany, France, Australia, Saudi Arabia, they do a tour of the UK. It seems like every year. So there, the market is there. I think it's a matter of having to be smart about what you send over there, what kind of deal you can get to reap the benefits of being overseas. So yeah, I mean, I think there is room for a little more, at least a little more pro wrestling content to be from some exotic location outside the United States.
Yeah, as long as you dodge the pirates.
Yes.
That was a funny story. Folks, if you didn't hear about that, by the way, the WWE had their elimination chamber being shipped through the Suez Canal, and some pirates intercepted it, and they had to actually go back all the way around the globe the other way to get it to Australia, and barely made it. So pretty wild stuff there for WWE. Is I guess Paul Burchill must have been running the show out there. There's a little old school semi old school reference there for you. But yeah, WWE ran into some pirate problems. All
I can think of is Johnny Depp as, Captain Jack Sparrow or whatever.
Oh God, unbelievable. All right, well, I'll tell you, we're gonna take our first break, and when we come back, we've got more with Stu Myrick, and we're gonna break down what happened at Elimination Chamber. Now, we talked a little business, and we're going to talk about what happened in the ring. Tiffany Stratton. Oh, my. Someone's going to be taking somebody's spot pretty soon. I have a feeling. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Dear winner, Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. From winter-ready SUVs like Grand Highlander and RAV4 to steady sedans like the Camry all-wheel drive, Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive, and the majestic Crown. Plus rugged trucks like Tacoma and Tundra. We're ready for winter action with solid traction. Yours, Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
Visit your Southern Nevada Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
Want more of the gaming perks you love? Play at Jerry's Nugget. Want more delicious dining? Play at Jerry's Nugget. Want more value every time you visit? Play at Jerry's Nugget. With the latest in trending slots and video poker, easy bets on live tables, and more bingo payouts, you're gonna love Jerry's Nugget Casino. Earn higher levels of free play, cashback, and comps for all your play. Great gaming, good food, and better value. You're gonna love Jerry's Nugget Casino.
Jerry's Nugget Casino. Your kind of place.
You're pregnant, and no matter what you do, no matter what you try, you can't stop using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco. But no matter how lost you are, how far along you are, it's not too late. There's always hope, and there are many safe places that can help you stop using. In Nevada, pregnant women are given the highest priority for substance use treatment. Low-cost treatment options may be available so you and your baby can get healthy now. If you or someone you love is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant and using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 to find help today. SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org also has resources for healthcare providers, friends, and family. If you want to help someone who's pregnant and using, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 today. Sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Understanding the many things in a mother's life affecting her pregnancy is important. You can help improve the health of all mothers and babies in Nevada by completing a Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring System survey about your recent pregnancy. Also known as PRAMS, the survey is from the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The survey asks new moms about their experience before, during, and after pregnancy. Responses are confidential and used to help improve the health of mothers and babies in Nevada. If you receive a PRAMS survey, please share your story. Learn more at nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. That's nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. This message sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And let's get back to it. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment from around the planet. Stu Myrick's show is pretty good too. Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We're happy to have him back on the show this week. We'll give Stu the 1A slot just to be nice, because that's what we do. Yeah. Your show's pretty darn good.
I do okay. I actually, ironically, This week, I'm scheduled to talk to Kevin Kelly.
Oh,
from
nice.
AEW Collision. I've known Kevin for several years, and of course, loved his work in New Japan as the lead English commentator on NJPW World. So I'm gonna have Kevin on. We'll break down Revolution and chat. And I always enjoy Kevin. He's, truth be told, he's probably one of my favorite commentators on the scene right now.
I had fun interviewing Nigel McGuinness a couple weeks ago too, and that was to me, that was a great honor to get to talk to him. I've just been such a fan of his forever. And that team is awesome. I just love those guys.
I like Nigel. I'll be honest, there are times when I have to roll my eyes because he gets a little too, in my opinion, he leans too much into the heel commentator role. And there's stuff, it just, this hatred of Bryan Danielson, it's hilarious.
I love it.
I mean, just, that actually kind of makes me laugh. But some of it kind of just, now look, he knows what he's talking about. Of course, former Ring of Honor world champion, many years in the business. But there are times when I just kind of like go, really? You're really saying that? Okay, sure. So,
you know what? And Stu, I'll say this real quick. I think he's doing his magic show out there in Greensboro.
Oh, really?
Yes, go. I went.
Get to that.
I'm highly recommend it. Great show. It's going to tug at your heartstrings. You're going to love it. I promise.
All right.
So make the time and go.
I'll look that one up.
Yeah, please do, and tell him I sent you.
Okay.
And then he'll love me forever too.
Of course,
that would be great. But well, let's talk a little bit Elimination Chamber. What happened in there? Like I said, not a lot of surprises, but some interesting performances, to say the least. Now we had the kickoff show. Nothing too big there with the Kabuki Warriors knocking off Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I don't think anybody expected too much out of that. Okay, match. Indy gets her time in the homeland as she gets to perform in front of her home crowd in Australia. So nice for her, but a solid performance there. I don't know as much to say about that match. But then we get to the women's match where Becky Lynch, as we all expected, wins that women's match, beating Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Raquel Rodriguez, who ended up taking a spot that they were talking about putting Jade Cargill in, but they decided to pull her because they didn't want her to lose, and Tiffany Stratton. Not a lot of surprise Becky winning, obviously, but your take on what happened in that match. Let me hear your thoughts first, and then I want to hit a couple points.
I'll be honest, and it kind of speaks to the whole card. It was entertaining. Yes, results, as you said, pretty much what everybody expected. And I think I saw the betting odds from Bet Online, and she was like a 1 to 20 favorite or something like that. But it had some good spots. It was good to see Naomi back, and it's good to see Naomi back in the fold there. You mentioned before the break about Tiffany Stratton, and I think that, we're going to see this in the next year, 18 months. They have some fantastic talent in NXT that we will see on Raw or SmackDown, and they're gonna vie for some spots, and Tiffany Stratton's one of them. It's so funny, when she first got going in NXT, you could see her athleticism. She, a former gymnast in college. You could see the athleticism. The speaking, the talking was, it needed to come along a little bit. She has definitely worked on it. And so now she is definitely one of the very bright spots as a newcomer to the main roster coming out of NXT. And I believe that she solidified herself as a legit talent on the women's roster on SmackDown.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, she had those Australian fans just eating out of her hand. I mean, they were mad and chanting BS and all that stuff when she got knocked out of there.
Yeah.
They were excited for her for more than just about anybody in that match. And you mentioned Naomi too. And last time, the time you were on, we had talked about Naomi a little bit. And I'm a little worried about her on this roster. I think that she is going to have to do something different. And I mean, seriously different to stand out among this group. You mentioned there's a pretty group of women coming up on NXT. And then if you were thinking about, let's put you in the Booker's chair for a second and said, okay, who am I going to strap the rocket to? If you just took that match, she's probably, you put her maybe right there with Liv Morgan, and they were talking about doing a big push with Liv. So she's probably in the 4 or 5 spot just out of the women that are in that match. And then you start going over and you start thinking about Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and some other women that are already on the roster, Jade Cargill. She's 10 maybe of the women that are already there. She's got it. They've got to do something different with her to get her to a main event level, or she's going to be kind of mid-carding it for the women for a while. And she's too talented to do that, to me. I'm not saying that because I think that's where she belongs. I'm saying that because I think she should be at the top, but they've got to figure something else out with her.
And I think this kind of speaks to the good problem that WWE has right now. There is a lot of fantastic talent, both women and men. And that main event level is going to get really crowded really quick. So you're right. Naomi, she, her first stint in WWE, she won the SmackDown Women's title a couple times. It always felt though like there was something it needed something to get over the hump. She leaves, goes to TNA, does well in TNA. Now she's back in WWE. That hump that she has to get over, I think, is a little bigger now. And you mentioned the women's talent that is there. And so I don't know if it's presentation, I don't know if it's skill set. There was talk about make her part of the bloodline. I don't agree. I don't think she needs to do that, and I have my own feelings about the bloodline anyway. There is something that she's going to have to find that whatever it is to make her stand out so that she can remain at that upper mid card to main event level.
Yeah, I think she's got to get mean. I know you didn't like the bloodline idea, and I think it depends on where they're planning on taking the story here after this. But one way or another, I think she has to get mean. I think that she's got to turn. I think she's got to get vicious. I think that she has, because she seems like such a nice person. I've never gotten to meet her yet, but you can just tell that there's a really good heart there and a really terrific, just an aura about her, that she's just a great person to be around. But that isn't going to carry her through when you're talking about, I've got to get past Becky, Charlotte, Jade, Bianca, and all these incredible athletes. And not that she's not an incredible athlete, but you got to think, what do I have to do to get past them? Well, it's got to be in the attitude then. I think that she's got to turn, and I think she's got to get mean and nasty and do something different, totally different and out of character.
I I tend to agree with you, but I think they got to be careful because there are those, and I'll compare it to Adam Cole in AEW. There are those folks, and look, Adam Cole is one of the most wonderful people in pro wrestling. He is genuinely one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I've had multiple occasions to hang around with him and talk to him and such. And I'll be honest, the wrestling audience is a little smarter these days. And there are those wrestlers that no matter what you do, whether you turn them heel or not, it's going to be hard to get the wrestling audience to react the way, you intended. So turning Naomi heel and make her vicious and everything, maybe, but are the fans going to accept her as a heel? Or are they going to continue to cheer her? I mean, that we're seeing it with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley allegedly is a heel, but she gets as big a reaction as some of the babyface girls. So
and it's funny that you bring up, and I think it's a good spot. I'm going to deviate a little bit because I know I don't know if you got a chance to see that clip I sent you, but it's funny that you brought that up because there was a clip on a show that Vince Russo did, and it was talking to Al Snow, and there was an interview that Rhea Ripley was doing with Denise Salcedo where they were playing Never Have I Ever, and we're talking to Rhea Ripley about had she ever used a dating app. And the reaction from Vince Russo and Al Snow is, this is your number one heel. And she's sitting here talking about whether she's used a dating app or not. So, how can you present her as a heel? So part of that presentation, is that our fault? Is that our fault as people that are in the media, that we're going out and we're doing interviews and we're asking people questions like that to say, hey, we're trying to give a chance for everybody to get to know these people. And when we do that, we're shattering that wall. We're shattering that kayfabe. So people are like, well, Rhea Ripley's a really nice person. And she is. She's a sweetheart. I've met her. She's really nice. So it's hard to get people to hate her. And it's the same thing with somebody like a Naomi, or you talked about Adam Cole. A lot of people know that Adam Cole is a really nice person. So it makes it harder for people to hate him. Is that on us?
Us, by us, do you mean wrestling
media? Yeah.
I would say a little bit. It's, we are not in the days of like Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Bill Apter, where the magazine kept kayfabe, and all that. I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a little bit, as I mentioned, wrestling audience is getting smarter. And I heard the clip. First of all, Vince Russo is
Vince Russo is Vince Russo.
Vince Russo, yeah. Now, I do respect Al Snow quite a bit. I've been able to meet him a couple times, and he's he knows what he's talking about. I think that, look, this whole thing about pulling the curtain back and all that started back in the 90s with NWO and DX and that. And it has, that curtain has gotten more open with each passing year, to the point where when I talk to legends, old timers, and I'll even reference Dustin Rhodes, they reference pro wrestling as a sport. It is a sport. There are those, however, in wrestling that consider it a performance art, like theater. So if you look at it as a performance art, then those individuals that are in the ring, they're actors.
They're actors.
They're playing a part. For instance, what's his name? Dadgummit. Christopher Walken has played villains left and right. I'm sure that Christopher Walken, the person, probably is a nice gentleman. But you see him in one of those movies, and yeah, he's not nice.
Right.
I think that wrestling fans nowadays see those individuals in the ring the same way. They're playing a role. But outside the ring, they're just like you and me. Part of it, and I'll be honest, there's a little bit of it on WWE. WWE has pushed their social media so much. Everything's on social media. Everything's about social media. Twitter handles, Instagram handles, what's trending, all that good stuff. They always tout about they've got so many million views on social media, whatever. They'll come. In fact, as you mentioned, I'm in Austin, Texas. We have the South by Southwest Festival. It'll be coming up probably in about 2 weeks. And the first part of that is South by Southwest Interactive. And I believe every year for at least the last 10 or 15, there has been somebody from WWE here to talk about their social media reach and such. And so you're pushing everybody to go to social media and follow the wrestlers and all that. Well, that social media, those wrestlers are being themselves.
Right.
So, I think there's blame to go around for everybody. I don't think you're not gonna change it. It's there.
It's very, and it's on the performers too, because if you look at some of the top heels, you look at somebody like Christian right now, for example. If you do an interview with Christian, he's coming in and he's not breaking character. He's going to be a heel and he's going to be a jerk to you no matter what. MJF is kind of the same way. And you'll, like, the first question, you're going to have a general idea of what you're going to be facing. But until that interview starts, you kind of don't know. Sometimes you do, depending on who it is. But a lot of times you get that first question. But just imagine, for example, and it's been one of the more interesting things since I really got into having more guests on the show. Am I talking to the performer or am I talking to the character? I mean, just imagine if you had Tom Hanks coming into your studio, or am I talking to Tom Hanks or am I talking to Forrest Gump? I mean, that's what I think some people don't understand about doing what we do is you don't know for sure who you're going to be talking to when they walk into the door or they get on your stream or whatever. It's tricky. It's really tricky. And for them, and I get what Al Snow was saying in that clip, but that's kind of on the performer to decide how they're going to handle the interview. So if they're going to handle it as themselves, the person, that's on them. And then we kind of take it from there. So yeah, I mean, but it's interesting. I think fans, kind of want to hear a little bit of both, which makes it even tougher. So yeah, it's an interesting topic.
I think that being a heel today is much different than being a heel back in the 80s and 90s. Look, I've heard all the stories, and I'm in Texas, so I grew up on World Class Championship Wrestling up in the Metroplex. I've heard the stories. Michael Hayes, and the Freebirds, they'd have their vehicle parked outside the Sportatorium, and half the time they'd come out there with their tires slashed.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd come down to the ring, and if you remember those views of the Sportatorium, the fans are right there.
Yeah.
And you hear the stories about old ladies, trying to stab them with their stick pins and such as that. And I think there might be a little something there about, okay, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have my tire slashed, get stabbed with stick pins and all that good stuff. So I think there's a little bit of that as well. So it's, and this is not, look, I work for over 15 years in sports radio. This isn't like me interviewing Michael Parsons, the great linebacker for the Cowboys. There was a time when I was doing when I started doing Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, I would ask in advance, okay, am I talking to the person or am I talking to the wrestler? So that I would know how to frame the interview. Funny thing was, I would say 98% of the wrestlers I've talked to, they want me to talk to the person. You mentioned MJF. I will, and I hate to blow this. I hate to blow his cover here. Max is probably one of the nicest guys I know. And in fact, there's been several times I get lucky enough, I'll go backstage during, for an AEW show. He would come up and give me a big hug. He used to wrestle used to be called Inspire Pro. Now it's Inspire After Death. I do commentary for them. We got a show tonight, by the way. But he used to wrestle for us at Inspire. And so I got to know him, as he would come to Austin, pretty regularly. And so, so it got to the point he would, I'd see him when I would see him in Major League Wrestling or in AEW. When I come up to him backstage, he'd come up and give me a big old hug and would seem genuinely happy to see me.
Yeah. Well, next time I see Max, he might get some words from me. He might. We've had a few run-ins, so we'll see what happens there. But hey, we're going to take a break. This all sorts of fun in pro wrestling, man. I'll tell you what, it is an amazing industry. We're going to be back with more with myself and Stu Myrick here on the Mark Hoke Show. And we'll get back to talking about Elimination Chamber. We're off to the side. That's part of the fun of this. That's what we do. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with more best in pro wrestling news and entertainment on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN. Stick around for more.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, our Snap Secure Dental Implants will let you eat and speak with confidence at a price that's affordable. So if you think you can't afford dental implants, think again. Our practices in Las Vegas and Henderson are open to serve you. Schedule a free new smile consultation by calling 1-800-DENTURE or visit affordabledentures.com to find the practice near you. That's 1-800-DENTURE or visit affordabledentures.com. Schedule your new smile consultation today. Affordable Dentures and Implants.
Go ahead and smile.
Dear winner, Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. From winter-ready SUVs like Grand Highlander and RAV4 to steady sedans like the Camry all-wheel drive, Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive, and the majestic Crown. Plus rugged trucks like Tacoma and Tundra. We're ready for winter action with solid traction. Yours, Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
Visit your Southern Nevada Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
If your bank account is causing you headaches, switch to One Nevada Credit Union. With 46,000 free ATMs, innovative mobile apps, and convenient local branches, you can kiss your banker goodbye forever. Open an account online today or find a local branch at onenevada.org.
One Nevada Credit Union. Our one focus is you.
One Nevada is open to all Clark County residents, federally insured by the NCUA Equal Opportunity Lender. If your bank account is causing you headaches, switch to One Nevada Credit Union. With 46,000 free ATMs, innovative mobile apps, and convenient local branches, you can kiss your banker goodbye forever. Open an account online today or find a local branch at onenevada.org.
One Nevada Credit Union. Our one focus is you.
One Nevada is open to all Clark County residents, federally insured by the NCUA Equal Opportunity Lender.
In Nevada, anything that goes into the storm drain goes directly to our local waterways, which can pollute Nevada's lakes and rivers. Nevada is the driest state in the nation, and we must work together to preserve our limited water resources for future generations of Nevadans. Here's some waterway wisdom so you can help do your part. Scoop your dog's poop, bag it, and discard it. Clean up yard waste and grass clippings. Wash your car at a car wash or on grass or gravel. Apply pesticides and fertilizers sparingly in your yard. Safely dispose of household chemicals. Clean up leaks and spills. And don't litter. Secure trash in bins. Keep contaminants out of our storm drains. Use waterway wisdom. And remember, only rain should go into the storm drain. Join us in preserving Nevada's waters for future generations by visiting loveenvywaters.com and following us on social media.
This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Transportation, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
And let's get back to it. We got a couple minutes here, short segment. We ran a little long on the last one. That's okay. Mark Hoke and Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, sitting in with me for the whole show because he's just crazy like that. Very happy to have you with us, Stu. What's going on?
Appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're the man. So, as we were before we got off on our little tangent there, we were talking about Elimination Chamber. I'm sure we'll be having to carry that over to the next hour. We had a tag match. Judgment Day had taken on the interestingly named team, and boy, I tell you what, apparently even Michael Cole didn't like the name of the team, the New Catch Republic, because they busted on Pete Dunne and Tyler Bates' name in the broadcast. I didn't think that was very helpful, but
yeah,
but they did it.
It was a fine match. But like you said, no surprises there.
No, not at all. But a good match. Judgment Day, of course, gets away with the titles, and I would imagine we got. Gosh, if we get Awesome Truth taking those guys on at WrestleMania, that'd be fun.
That'd be intriguing. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. But yeah, Judgment Day gets out of there, and I want to save time for the men's match because we got about 2 minutes. So, but Rhea Ripley gets a win against Nia Jax. And of course, Rhea gets the adulation of her fellow Aussies. But I do want to take a minute and talk about Nia's performance, because what a comeback for her after being regarded as one of the most unsafe performers in WWE. Somebody that, had been released and nobody wanted around. Would you have thought, Stu, after all this time, that we would be seeing her main eventing a premium live event and having a great performance and everybody was happy?
Look, it was shocking enough that she was brought back into WWE. But yeah, her performance, at Elimination Chamber, fantastic. She did exactly what what was expected, played her part to a T. And it looks like it looks like this run, she's got more motivation to better herself in the ring. And I'm looking forward to see what's next for Nia Jax.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll probably see her against Jade Cargill, but got to give her a lot of credit. She's in better shape. She definitely is wrestling a lot better. I don't think we're going to see any of the problems that she's had in the past. Really did a fantastic job and looked like she belonged in a main event match. I mean, she's been there before, but this time she showed that she should be among the elite. And, all the credit in the world to her. That was a terrific performance for her last night with the spotlight squarely on her. So congratulations to Nia Jax Terrific comeback for her. Way to go. Speaking of coming back, we got another hour. Isn't that great, Stu?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. So we got more of the Mark Hoke Show coming up here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the Talk of Las Vegas. And if you're out there, wherever you are, the Odyssey app is available to you. So you can download that. I know Stu's show's on the Odyssey app as well. So you can check out Sports Guys Talking Wrestling there. And of course, if you're out there on the YouTube land or Facebook, you can, come on live stream. And hey, if you like what we're saying or not, you can give us a comment, ask a question. We're more than happy to take your comments and whatever you want to throw at us. We'd appreciate it. Stick around. Hour 2 is coming up on KDAWN. We'll be right back.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join the Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
I've been asked 1,000 times, did you plan on becoming the largest injury law firm in the world? And the answer is no. When I started, there were just 2 of us. Today, Morgan & Morgan has almost 800 lawyers alone. No injury firm in the country has anywhere close to that. We set out to be focused on our clients and to have a commitment to trying cases and winning. And when you have those results at trial, you're able to settle most of your cases quickly and fairly. Reputation matters. We grew like this because we worked hard and so many former clients referred family and friends. And what I believe is the main reason is we delivered for our clients a lot. Hard work and client satisfaction was our plan. It worked. Hope is not a plan. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You can admit it, you're obsessed with the news. But you don't want to be that person watching TV waiting for the next news story to break. So use your ears instead with the free Odyssey app. With this station available on the free Odyssey app, you can get your local news and discover news stations from around the country. And with hundreds of podcasts also available, you can go deep into the topics you care about. Download the free Odyssey app wherever you get your apps to get the news you crave. Your news fix, your Odyssey.
Ready for your next vacation? Not so fast. Before you hit the road, remember these healthy habits to keep yourself and others safe and sanitary. Wash your hands after using the restroom, before eating and after blowing your nose. Sanitize airplane seats and tray tables. Sneeze or cough into a tissue or your elbow. And avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Lastly, make sure you're up to date on all your routine vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccine. It's also important to get tested when necessary, such as if you develop COVID-19 symptoms before, during, or after travel. If you will be traveling to visit someone who is at a higher risk of getting very sick from COVID-19, or if you're in a situation with a greater risk of exposure during travel. Pack these tips on your next adventure. And remember, travel safely, Nevadans. This message is sponsored by a CDC grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Nevadans, prescriptions can be expensive. Let the Array RX discount card be your solution. Now available to all Nevada residents. Simply sign up for free. Show your pharmacist your digital card and save money. Receive discounts of up to 80% on certain medications. There are no age or income restrictions, and it only takes a minute to enroll, so you can get back to doing what makes you happy.
This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
KMXB HD3 Henderson, K268CS Las Vegas. Always live on the free Odyssey app. 101.5 FM KDAWN.
Another primary, another victory lap. I'm Pam Huso, Fox News. Former President Trump is moving on to Michigan after defeating Republican presidential rival Nikki Haley in South Carolina.
I have never seen the Republican Party so unified as it is right now. Never been like this.
Haley, who served as South Carolina's governor, isn't bowing out yet.
I said earlier this week that no matter what happens in South Carolina, I would continue to run for president. I'm a woman of my word.
Earlier this month on the Democratic side, President Biden easily won South Carolina. Joint efforts between the U.S. and the U.K. to counter Houthi rebels in Yemen. Fox's Mike Tobin has more.
We have confirmation now from two different U.S. sources that the U.S. Navy, the British Royal Navy, supported by some 6 other nations, have conducted a pretty sizable offensive into Houthi-controlled Yemen, striking at some 18 different targets that includes missile launchers, drone launchers, and weapons storage facilities. A joint statement says that this is conducted in response to all of those different strikes we have been talking about against merchant vessels and warships traveling through the Red Sea. And it happens just hours after a ballistic anti-ship missile had been launched from Houthi-controlled Yemen, aimed apparently at a U.S. oil tanker traveling through the Red Sea.
The U.S. has been carrying out almost daily strikes against the Houthis. Another temporary ceasefire could be coming together in the Middle East. Mediated talks between Israel and Hamas are expected in Qatar this week. Further discussions could be held in Egypt. America's listening to Fox News.
New from the Fox News Podcast Network.
I'm Emily Campagno, and this is the Fox True Crime Podcast.
And I had nothing to do with her disappearance.
I sit down with the people who lived the nightmares.
I was in shock. I was just devastated.
The investigators who tirelessly worked on the case.
And I really hope that they can catch this guy.
Bringing you closer to the story than you ever thought possible.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
These are the stories that keep you up at night.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Listen to the all-new Bret Baier podcast featuring Common Ground, talking to lawmakers weekly from opposite sides of the political spectrum about the issues of the day and how Americans can find common ground in a politicized world.
That's just not happening on Capitol Hill. It takes leadership, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Along with all your Bret Baier favorites like the campaign, the candidates, the all-star panel, and much more. Available now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
Oh, it was an hour so nice. We're going to do it twice. Welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show, everybody, here on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Of course, streaming on that Odyssey app and live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Just search the Mark Hoke Show and you'll find me and all of our crazy cast of characters we have in here week to week. And of course, this week, well, and he was here last week too. Our good friend from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling in Austin, Texas, Stu Myrick, is in the house again. What's up, Stu?
Mark, I enjoyed the first hour, so I'm going to stick around and do another hour.
Well, I appreciate that. You're a good guy. Oh, look at that. He's blushing, everybody.
I try.
Blushing through that amazing silky white beard that he's sporting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The chicks dig it. What can we say?
We'll see.
And trying to meet some nice girls out in Greensboro, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm going to get you in trouble, Stu. It's all good.
Of course.
But, of course, we're going to wrap up our discussion on the WWE Elimination Chamber. And, of course, we had some other things happening in pro wrestling as well this day. And, boy, we've got so much to talk about yet. I hope we can get it all in. Mm-hmm. But the men's match, that was the last one we didn't get to talk about. Drew McIntyre brings home the Elimination Chamber victory, so he will be heading in to face Seth Rollins in Philadelphia at WrestleMania. I don't think that was too much of a surprise to anybody, but was there anything else in the match that surprised you, Stu? We had a little Logan Paul incident with Randy Orton, and then we had a little incident with AJ Styles coming into the cage and beating up LA Knight.
Yeah, first of all, you fly AJ Styles halfway across the world just to do the run in on LA Knight, and that was that was a choice. Sure, I get that. Don't know why you couldn't wait until SmackDown to start that program, but okay, sure. Logan Paul was apparently he would do these little fog up the pod wall and then draw. I think he drew something about Kevin Owens and such. Randy Orton, it looked like he was favoring his back quite a bit. I'm hoping that was purely work, and hopefully he is fine. We'll see. It does feel like, first of all, yes, Drew McIntyre winning again, heavy odds on favorite. So we will get Drew versus Seth for the world title at Mania. It feels like Logan Paul could see a triple threat with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens for that U.S. title at Mania. We'll see if that develops, or if Randy Orton legitimately injured his back, then it'll be Logan versus Kevin. The rest of it was textbook. Kind of fun how Bobby Lashley was selling the arm injury that he suffered the night before on SmackDown. So we'll see what develops out of that. The interesting thing is going to be, there has been this, widely held rumor that Seth Rollins is going to join up with Cody Rhodes in a tag team match against The Rock and Roman Reigns. Okay, so then you're going to have Seth versus Drew. So Seth's going to work twice. Cody's going to work twice. Roman's going to work twice. Do you have Drew work twice? I almost say no, only because Drew is doing this whole, I'm not responsible for the, bad things that are happening to my opponents. I'm just going to take advantage of them. So we'll see. But yeah, Drew winning, expected. We'll see Drew and Seth. It looks like Seth might be close to at least being cleared. He was able to do the curb stomp on Austin Theory during that Grayson Waller effect segment. So we'll see. We'll see how Seth looks in the ring when we get to Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's going to be intriguing too, because you have Seth coming off a knee injury and is going to have to work twice. But how are you going to schedule that he works twice? Is he going to go? Because really that should be if you have that tag match, that really should be a main event night 1 match. So then are you going to throw him to open night 2? But then what are you doing with Becky and Rhea? And this is, I'm sorry, but The Rock sticking his nose in this thing has really made this a little bit confusing. It has taken away what should have been a very simple, easy WrestleMania to schedule, and has made this very difficult. And I'm going to be curious to see how they juggle all this. I don't know. I'm going to trust the pros on this, but this is going to be a weird juxtaposition of how you're going to plan this whole card out.
I agree. I almost feel like you should, if you're going to do first of all, so we saw during the Grayson Waller effect, Cody Rhodes did challenge The Rock to a one-on-one match. Seth then says, "Hey, I'll have your back," because the blood, when one member of the bloodline is there, you're gonna have multiple. It feels like that will eventually get turned into this tag match. just for the sake of maximizing the amount of time in between matches, it would not shock me in the least to see them open night one with Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth. Because that way you've got the maximum amount of time for Cody and Roman, because that's going to main event night 2. Pretty sure Seth and Drew will be night 2, and it would not shock me in the least if that opens night 2. Then you leave the main event slot for night 1 to one of the women's title matches. Now, they kept saying during the Royal Rumble, the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble will main event WrestleMania. So, if you follow that logic, it's going to be Bayley and Io Sky. But we also know the hotter match is Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch. So, whichever one they choose, I don't think you're going to get too much of an argument either way. Yes, people argue because it's pro wrestling and people do that. Yeah, but I can just as easily justify either match having that night 1 main event slot.
Yeah, there's a lot of main events and not a lot of spots to have a main event, so that'll be intriguing. I'm going to be very curious to see how they work all that out. So the road to WrestleMania gets bumpier and bumpier as we roll along. And yeah, we'll see how Dwayne and the boys handle all this, to say the least. It's going to be fun, but either way, we're going to get a lot of good wrestling in Philadelphia. So should be a great time coming up here at the beginning of April. So get ready to head down to the city of brotherly love. It's, well, if you're that kind of brother, if you hang out with me, you're okay. I got you.
All right.
But don't wear your cowboy stuff or Stu. You're not going to be
well, here's
you're going to get your head bounced off the Liberty Bell.
No, I will not. I know better. And besides, it's been pounded into me, again, working so long in sports radio, whenever you go to a stadium as a media member, you don't wear any team logo stuff. So, you won't even find me in Longhorn stuff. Now, I do have a burnt orange Sports Guys Talking Wrestling shirt that I wear, but it has nothing on there that, that has, you don't see Bevo, you don't see the Longhorn or whatever. However, as bad luck would have it, I actually have an engagement that very weekend. It's going to prevent me from making it to Philadelphia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm going to be tied up with something else, and so I will be watching from here in Central Texas. I'm sure it'll be fun. WrestleMania weekend is always crazy. We also know Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor will happen that weekend. They're going to have the independent wrestling shows at 2300 Arena. Of course, WrestleCon's always a hoot. But unfortunately, I'm going to be busy, so I will be like I said, checking it out from here in Central Texas.
Well, before we get to the other things that happened over the weekend, one tiny note: Dustin Rhodes is going to be at WrestleCon.
Yes,
we mentioned about. I know it can't happen. I know it shouldn't happen, but he's gonna be in town. Could there? Oh, it's a 1% chance. Dustin making an appearance at WrestleMania. Oh, he's gonna be there.
He is going to be there. Look,
sorry, I'm dreaming.
That's okay. No, and I know he was in Los Angeles last year. He will be there. He will be at WrestleCon on behalf of the Dusty Rhodes Foundation. I'll actually be with him here in about 3 weeks, because we're gonna record the Rhodes Wrestling Academy Student Showcase. So I'll be with him then. I know he will be in Philadelphia. It would not surprise me if he is at Lincoln Financial Field, especially on night 2. He will probably be holed up, probably backstage or something. I don't see.
Gotta be awesome.
I don't see, an appearance by Dustin on the TV screen, at Mania, because I just don't see it. But hey,
I know. I know.
I get it. It's a dream.
It is a dream. It's an American dream.
There you
It's
go.
an American dream. Oh, now for the other things that happened over this weekend, a lot of guys who were in WWE had a pretty good weekend. Some I am absolutely shocked at what happened. As of course, Mustafa Ali rolls into TNA. His debut match, wins the X Division title from Chris Sabin at TNA's No Surrender. And even more surprising, Nick Nemeth winning I'll make sure I get this right. He beats Dave Finlay to win the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. But this one absolutely blew me away. Matt Riddle shows up and he beats Hiroshi Tanahashi to win the New Japan TV Championship. Are you kidding me?
Tell you what.
I mean, these are guys that you just would never have expected to. I mean, are they showing up at these places? Okay, I get it. But winning titles like that? Wow.
Yeah, interesting that both New Japan and TNA pulled the trigger so quickly on these. I mean, these 3 guys, they were in WWE, as recent as 6 months ago. And now you've got all 3 of them winning titles. Nick Nemeth, and we saw the beginning of that program at Wrestle Kingdom with the altercation that he had with David Finlay as David Finlay was coming, was walking back from the ring after his victory, after winning that title, which is that's the replacement for the US/UK heavyweight title.
Right.
So interesting that New Japan pulls the trigger so quickly to put that title on Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler. I don't know if it's a reflection on, hey, we're going to go with the hot hand while he's here, or is it a reflection on David Finlay, who is a solid, fantastic worker. I mean, I guess we will see how it develops over the weeks to come. Same thing, Matt Riddle taking the New Japan World TV title off Hiroshi Tanahashi. That one actually makes a little more sense, only because I thought it was a little odd that they put the title on Tanahashi to begin with, especially now that he is the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that one, I'm surprised. I'm not as surprised as Nick Nemeth. That's so. And I wonder, in Matt Riddle, he's in New Japan as the New Japan TV champion. He's also been working Major League Wrestling. We'll see where else he ends up. Same thing with Mustafa Ali and Nick Nemeth. But yeah, a very active weekend for guys that are former WWE superstars.
Yeah, and I think one thing that it shows is that even if you have bad things happen to you in WWE, there's a whole world out there. There is a whole world of pro wrestling, unlike maybe even what it was, 5 years ago, that it's your career's not over. Maybe back in a while back, you wouldn't have had maybe even that open door chance to really make a splash in New Japan even. It was a lot harder for American wrestlers to get in over there. But now the opportunities are so plentiful. It is incredible. And for all these guys to have landed in spots where not only do they get a chance to win titles, but people are paying attention to it. Somebody goes to Impact and shows up, or what used to be Impact, now TNA. People are like, okay, and people didn't really show up on the radar. You know what I mean? It was like it happened, okay, but now people actually care about it. I mean, these are some pretty big deals at this point. So I think it's a great thing to remind everybody that the world doesn't start and end anymore at WWE's doorstep, with AEW and everybody else. I mean, pretty impressive stuff there for everybody to just keep in mind that you have a whole group of places you can go and succeed. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's. I was talking to somebody about the independent scene, and it feels like, the independent scene has definitely recovered from the COVID era, from the pandemic, and I think we're seeing not only the independent scene rising up, but you're seeing TNA, Ring of Honor, Major League Wrestling, New Japan, all these companies raising their profile. And now, like you said, I think the wrestling scene is as hot as it has been in quite a long time.
Yeah, pretty cool. So three of the castaways finding safe ground. So congratulations to all three of them. Well deserved. Congratulations to Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali, and Nick Namath on winning some championships. And we're kind of a championship team right here. Stu and I don't have a tag title, but we'll have to make one. I'm Mark Hoke on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN. Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling sitting in with me. And when we come back, well, we have another tag team that got nailed on some interviews this week that we're going to talk about. John Cena and Randy Orton discussing Vince McMahon. May not have gone so well. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on KDAWN 101.5 FM to talk Las Vegas.
If you live in Clark County, you are at risk of developing non-smoking lung cancer. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that gets into homes and increases one's risk of lung cancer, and it exists here in Clark County. Radon is colorless and odorless, so the only way you know if your radon level is elevated in your home or office is by testing. To get your free test kit, visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. 21,000 people die of lung cancer each year, and Nevadans are at a higher risk. If an elevated level of radon is found, there are ways to reduce it and lower the risk of getting lung cancer. Get your free test kit today. Visit our website with a new interactive map to find a pickup location nearest you at www.extension.unr.edu/radon. Sponsored by the University of Nevada, Reno Extension's Radon Education Program, and aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
My son stopped talking to me. He didn't want to leave his room. I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I just wanted to be alone.
I was really worried about my daughter. She was angry all the time.
I felt so depressed.
I was really worried about my daughter.
I couldn't do anything right. I was always getting yelled at.
My son told me he wanted to hurt himself. I was so scared.
I was feeling hopeless. It was all too much.
We needed help.
We needed help.
We needed help. We needed help.
I needed help. I called the Mobile Crisis Response Team, and we met with them that same day. A crisis team came to my house and helped me talk to my parents about how I was feeling.
I called the Mobile Crisis Response Team. They met with us that day.
I talked to them about how I was feeling, and it really helped.
Sometimes understanding what children are experiencing can be difficult. The Nevada Children's Mobile Crisis Response Team provides mental health intervention and support. Learn more at nocrisis.com.
This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Citizens Academy Alumni Association, a nonprofit organization separate and apart from the FBI in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association.
The FBI is engaged in a nationwide effort to build public awareness of hate crimes and encourage reporting to law enforcement. Hate crimes include crimes committed on the basis of the victim's perceived or actual race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. Hate crimes are not only an attack on the victim, they are meant to
to threaten and intimidate an entire community. If you believe you are a victim or a witness of a hate crime, we encourage you to report it to the FBI by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. You may remain anonymous. Again, report suspected hate crimes by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. The FBI works to protect all victims of crimes, regardless of their country of national origin or immigration status. The FBI encourages victims and witnesses of any hate-related incident to report it to law enforcement. This message sponsored by the FBI Las Vegas Division, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, kids, let's keep it rolling here on KDAWN 1015 FM Talk of Las Vegas. Mark Hoke Show, best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. And I've got my good pal, Stu Myrick, sitting in because he's a radio junkie and he just can't get enough.
Boy, howdy.
Hey, there you go. Of course, from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling out of Austin, Texas. Very happy to have him joining me for the entire show. As you can hear, my voice is starting to crack a little bit. Hanging in there. Stu, I was down for the count yesterday, brother. Wasn't good.
You got this, though. You got
I'm hanging. Yeah, you know what? You know, that bell rings and it's like, off you go.
That's right.
Kind of how it works. Well, we had a couple of interviews come out this week with John Cena and Randy Orton, who were discussing Vince McMahon. And, of course, this big scandal with the lawsuit with Lewis. And this was obviously a very, well, not a good situation, to say the least, or a very lurid filing that came out. And John Cena started things off on an interview with Howard Stern. I don't know what happened to Howard Stern, because Howard, I listened to the clip and Howard just kind of sat there going, yeah. Not the Howard Stern we used to know, but John did not come off well in this and caught a lot of flack. And his basic tenet in this whole thing was, well, Vince was my friend, and you stick with your friends and we'll see where the fallout goes from there. Was pretty much the gist of it. Randy did interviews with the New York Post and Sports Illustrated and had a little better answer to it, but his was, this was the guy that gave me second and third chances. Worked with him for all this time, but boy, when you read that, it sounds terrible, and we'll see where this goes too, but it's hard to believe this is the same guy that I work with. Both of them got ripped, especially Cena for not even acknowledging the victim. And, this didn't go well for either of these guys. Now, in John's case, John is pretty stoic when he answers questions like this. But, Stu, what did you think about how these interviews went out? Because, boy, people did not take them well.
It's one of those things where, and I think it falls along, for lack of a better term, generational lines. The long-time superstar that's been there for, a decade or two, and especially those that have done well in WWE, I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of vitriol against Vince. Obviously, the younger superstars, the ones that have come on in the last 5 years, yeah, they're going to. But how should they handle it? It's, I get the loyalty, but there's got to be some sort of admission where, of disgust or just, it's not a good look when you keep saying over and over, well, he's my friend, da da da, whatever. Look, I get it. He was instrumental in making, who you are today. But you should still have have the umbrance to also say he may be my friend, but if all these allegations are true, then yeah, there needs to be action. And that's kind of, it's going to be a very tight rope
Yeah.
The older superstars are going to walk when they have to answer questions about Vince, about the allegations, about the lawsuits. They're going to have to walk that tightrope, and I don't envy them one bit. It is definitely a black eye on the pro wrestling industry, and yeah, it's I'm not. I don't it's one of those things where I don't expect much when you interview a John Cena or Randy Orton or even, Undertaker or whoever. I don't expect, a lot of vitriol. I expect kind of, like I said, they've got to find that fine line.
Yeah, it's a very difficult position for them because obviously, this is the person that made their careers and they wouldn't be where they are without him. But at the same time, obviously, they're in a position where who knows what they knew and what they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I do feel bad for them to be in that spot because they're being asked to defend the indefensible. But at the same time, this is a person that I would imagine they do consider a good friend. And, you don't want to believe that about a good friend. I was in a spot like that a while ago with two people that I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't want to believe that they did something incredibly stupid. And, let me check. Let me figure this out. I'm not gonna just throw them under the bus right away. And, but this evidence seems pretty overwhelming, but so you don't want to come out and say, well, I believe this and all that. And then you lose your friendship. And what happens if it was a lie?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't, the way that lawsuit looks, it doesn't look like a lie to me. It really doesn't.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. You're right.
Yeah. So it's a tough spot for them. And, while I think that there should have been some more acknowledgement of the victims, especially in John's case, I do have a little sympathy for the spot that they're in. So, I agree with you. I think the younger the person, I think the less sympathy they're going to get. So, yeah, a tough spot. Definitely a tough spot for those guys. So,
and it's going to be for a while. And something you said about, what did they know? And that's been a big question, not only of them, but of people like Triple H, like Stephanie McMahon. There was a lot of talk about when Vince got ousted, let's bring Stephanie back. Well, how much did she know? And now that talk has quieted down quite a bit. And that's, a lot of that is going to come out as this lawsuit progresses. Who knew what? How much did they know? Who turned a blind eye to it?
No, and the Ashley Massaro stuff, has certainly turned up the heat on everybody too. And we've seen a lot of people. I believe it was Paul London came out and was saying some stuff about that. And when that stuff's going on in a pretty public situation in hotel rooms and things like that, you gotta know that people knew stuff was happening. Oh, and and people, it's hard to imagine that the word's not getting around the locker room. It's just bad overall. And hopefully they can get this cleaned up and moved on. But yeah, Triple H is going to be in a tough spot, and I'm sure that's probably part of the reason that Stephanie hasn't been immediately invited back to the company or anything like that. The McMahon name right now, it's not good. Not good at all.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And Triple H is going to get, look, there's going to be a press conference after WrestleMania. He's going to get asked about it just like he was after the Royal Rumble. And I think that's going to carry on as long as, this lawsuit is still active. That's going to carry on. There are those that are going to want to know, what did he know?
Yeah, because not only was he an executive here now, but he was in the locker room.
Yeah.
Don't tell me he didn't see all this, and he was dating Stephanie. So I'm sure there was chatter. It wasn't like Stephanie didn't just not tell him things that were happening. So yeah, kind of a mess. But yeah, everybody's going to be in some precarious positions, to say the least, over the next year or so as this goes on. But I mean, the really funny part to me, I shouldn't say funny, but odd part to me about this is Vince could settle all this tomorrow. They could come to an agreement tomorrow, and all this goes away. All this goes away, to a point anyway.
I was going to say it won't totally go away, because there will always be the suspicions. There will always be but you're right. He would have to pony up a lot of money. But yeah, there is a settlement possible. I wonder how willing he is. How much would he give up? Having seen Vince over the last few decades, he feels like one of those that he feels he's untouchable. He's Teflon. And it might be that this is going to be the opportunity to make him realize, no, he's not.
Yeah. And I'm sure TKO Group would probably like to make this go away too. So they may be willing to throw a little money in the pot here, and whatever the other lawsuits that are flying around too, they may be willing to just write some checks and get this over with and finish it up before anything else gets into the public, because God knows what else is out there. So very, very tenuous situation going on with WWE, TKO Group, and Vince McMahon. Well, let's talk about some fun stuff real quick before we head to break, because I want to make sure we get to preview a little bit of AEW Revolution before we go. But I think the biggest development in AEW right now is this new recruit that has been drawn into the fold. That is Jennifer Pepperman, who used to be a writer for WWE, has now been brought into AEW. A multi-time Emmy winner, did soap opera writing and also some other TV shows. And Tony Khan has brought her in to do writing for AEW now, and is apparently going to be working very tightly with Mercedes Moné.
Mm-hmm.
Even Eric Bischoff, who has been ripping AEW to shreds since eternity, it seems like, highly approves of this move. And a lot of people think this is going to be a game changer for AEW. Stu, what do you think of this hire?
I'm taking a wait and see approach. AEW has Tony Khan likes to present AEW as a sports-based promotion. They want to present it like a sport, which I like, but I know that's probably not the most popular face they could put on. And there has been some criticism about having, lack of stories in AEW matches coming up, just because I get that. Can Jennifer Pepperman, can she fix it? We'll see. I hope that they can find that balance where they've got stories, but it's still, the sport. It's still the quest for that world title or TNT title or whatever. They've got to find that balance. I think they can do it, especially with Jennifer and Tony. I think there's a way they can do it, and I'll look forward to see what they develop.
Yeah, I think there's two things that AEW needs to do that WWE is doing right now very well. I think one is to develop some better stories. I think that's you have the talent and you get the matches. But I think that one thing that has clearly driven WWE's ratings back was, the Bloodline story and some of the other ones that came along beside it. And you've had these dream matches and these terrific, and you've got great bouts, but there has to be something to draw it together. Now, you have an NFL season, and there's, it's the NFL season culminates in a Super Bowl, and every game kind of goes into that puzzle. And one thing that WWE has is they have WrestleMania. Everything, while you have things going on through the year, it culminates at that point. And I don't know if AEW has, while they have All In, I don't know if AEW has something that kind of culminates. You know what I mean? It doesn't all draw together and have a season. And I think that if AEW figures out a way to have stories and then kind of have an end point and then a reset like WWE has, I think they're going to be a lot better off. So I that's kind of what I would like to see, because I think if you just you keep throwing great matches out there, that's one thing, but there's got to be a motivation behind those matches. You can't just say, hey, look, we've got Bryan Danielson and so wrestling tonight. And yeah, it sounds like a great match, but at the same time, there has to be a why behind it. Any great sporting event is better when there's a why behind it. You would think. And if there's a rivalry, if there's something to draw you in emotionally, it's better. So, I think that if AEW finds the way to pull you in a little bit more, then it's just so-and-so against so-and-so, they're going to be a lot better off. And I think this is a great hire for them. I really do. And I think she's going to be able to help them out with that.
And I think what AEW needs to do, they need to figure out what's their WrestleMania. Is it Double or Nothing? Is it All In? Is it All Out? They need to figure that out and then work back from it.
Right.
For the longest time, that's how they did WrestleMania. You think of WrestleMania, what you want on WrestleMania, work backwards to figure out how you want to get to that point.
Yeah. And unfortunately, as huge a show as All In is, I don't think you can make it All In because it's overseas. You're going to be depriving all the American fans of trying to get, everybody trying to get over to London. That's not ideal. I think you've got to pick one of the ones here in USA, and I'll tell you what, Double or Nothing wouldn't be a bad one, especially considering, the city that it's in. We got it, if you decide you're going to keep it here. But anyway, there's my plug for Las Vegas. All right, let's take one more break. And when we come back, the Las Vegas Convention Center and Tourism Bureau is going to write me my check. And we'll come back, wrap this up with Stu Myrick here on the Mark Hoke Show. Stick around, everybody. We've got a whole lot more from the world of pro wrestling on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. We'll be right back.
You're pregnant, and no matter what you do, no matter what you try, you can't stop using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco. But no matter how lost you are, how far along you are, it's not too late. There's always hope, and there are many safe places that can help you stop using. In Nevada, pregnant women are given the highest priority for substance use treatment. Low-cost treatment options may be available so you and your baby can get healthy now. If you or someone you love is pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant and using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 to find help today. SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org also has resources for healthcare providers, friends, and family. If you want to help someone who's pregnant and using, visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211 today. Sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Understanding the many things in a mother's life affecting her pregnancy is important. You can help improve the health of all mothers and babies in Nevada by completing a Pregnancy Risk Assessment Monitoring System survey about your recent pregnancy. Also known as PRAMS, the survey is from the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The survey asks new moms about their experience before, during, and after pregnancy. Responses are confidential and used to help improve the health of mothers and babies in Nevada. If you receive a PRAMS survey, please share your story. Learn more at nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. That's nvprams.dpbh.nv.gov. This message, sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Unsafe sleep conditions cause serious injury and even death to infants. Never sleep with your baby on a sofa, in a chair, or in an adult bed. Protect the baby you love from becoming a tragic statistic. The only safe place for your baby to sleep is alone, on its back, in a crib, and in your room. For more information, visit cribsforkids.org. That's cribsforkids.org. This message is sponsored by the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
In Nevada, anything that goes into the storm drain goes directly to our local waterways, which can pollute Nevada's lakes and rivers. Nevada is the driest state in the nation, and we must work together to preserve our limited water resources for future generations of Nevadans. Here's some waterway wisdom so you can help do your part. Scoop your dog's poop, bag it, and discard it. Clean up yard waste and grass clippings. Wash your car at a car wash or on grass or gravel. Apply pesticides and fertilizers sparingly in your yard. Safely dispose of household chemicals. Clean up leaks and spills. And don't litter. Secure trash in bins. Keep contaminants out of our storm drains. Use waterway wisdom. And remember, only rain should go into the storm drain. Join us in preserving Nevada's waters for future generations by visiting lovenvwaters.com and following us on social media.
This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Transportation, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey Nevadans, prescriptions can be expensive. Let the Array RX discount card be your solution. Now available to all Nevada residents. Simply sign up for free, show your pharmacist your digital card, and save money. Receive discounts of up to 80% on certain medications. There are no age or income restrictions, and it only takes a minute to enroll. Visit ArrayRxCard.com to learn more and sign up today.
This message funded by a grant through the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
101.5 FM KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
All right, let's do this one more time, and then I can go and pass out for a little while. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us. Little under the weather, but hanging in there for everybody. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. Stu Myrick sitting in with me as well. Hell of a great American. Love him to death. Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can check out that show on, well, pretty much every media outlet. It's all over the place. And, of course, on the Odyssey app, which would be the ideal. AUDACY. So you can find both our shows there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also makes our bosses happy. So
Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
There you go. So perfect. By the way, I got a message on I believe Facebook that said Gary Johnson said, "Don't make The Rock mad." I think it's too late for that. And by the way, I don't care if I make The Rock mad. Rock can come down here to the studio. He's not very far away. He and I can have a chat anytime he wants.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of room down here at the KDAWN studios. You know?
Yeah. That'd be fun. I've talked to his mother. I've never talked to him, but I've met his mother.
Yeah, anytime Mr. Johnson would like to have a discussion with me, you know, we got a couple clips up, and the one of the clips really took off this week. So, and of course, I was criticizing him for that promo last week. So, kablooey. That's the way it goes. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do, right?
Why is it that every time I rip on The Rock or the Bloodline, it always takes off? It's amazing.
See, and that's the thing. I have felt since SummerSlam that the Bloodline stories jumped the shark. I felt it's time to start, pulling that thing apart. So, but
Stu,
hey, what do I know?
Stu, I don't think you're going to get your wish, brother. I think there's going to be many more Bloodliners flying around after WrestleMania. Just call it a hunch.
I am still of the hope that Cody will finish his story at WrestleMania. And I've got a theory about it. I don't know how likely it is. It may just be fantasy booking, but I've got a theory that blends to Cody wins, and this, Rock mentioned the long game because, and that'll be because they're going to do The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41.
Possibility. I think it's going to happen at some point, but yeah, we'll see. Of course, it'll be even worse if Cody doesn't win in Philadelphia. There'd be a riot. There would be a riot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, we got AEW Revolution coming up next Saturday or Sunday, excuse me. And it should be a terrific card. Of course, Sting hanging it up after this is all over. What are you most looking forward to? Because this card is pretty much loaded up now, and we got about the 3 minutes. So what are you thinking, Stu?
I mentioned at the top of the show, of course, I am looking forward to see Sting in his final match. I watched him for 40 plus years. So outside of that, Will Ospreay making his, in-ring debut for AEW, taking on Konosuke Takeshita. That should be an interesting match, and I'm wondering if this is going to be some sort of swerve as far as Ospreay goes. He's, not going to, he'll find himself out of the Don Callis family. The tag team match, FTR versus Moxley and Castagnoli. I think that's going to be hard hitting. I think that's going to be one of those just strap back and let it fly. The match that is most intriguing, they announced is kind of off, kind of just at a side. The Meat Madness.
Oh, there you go.
It started off with Wardlow and that promo, which is probably one of the best promos he's cut in his time in AEW. And now that match is going to include Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Lance Archer, former Texas State quarterback, by the way.
There you go.
Played for the Bobcats back in the day. We'll see if that match grows any. I don't even know what is involved in that match. Is it just going to be a straight triple threat with three big guys, or are you going to have more? I'm intrigued by that. So we'll see. Eddie Kingston defending the Continental Crown Championship against Bryan Danielson. I'm intrigued in the story with that. This long-standing disrespect between Danielson and Kingston. So,
oh, you got the cough. It's all good. I gave it to you. I'll tell you the one that I'm really looking forward to is the Christian Cage and Daniel Garcia situation after Christian gave out the grave site for apparently for Daniel Garcia's father. That one was pretty tricky on his part. So yeah. I'm intrigued to see if there's going to be some sort of father storyline on that, because that was a Christian classic promo right there. That one got Daniel Garcia a little hot. So should be a great one coming up from AEW. We'll look forward to that. And hopefully, Stu, you're okay there.
Yeah, just a little tickle.
It's all good. Stu, thank you. And of course, once again, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Great show. Make sure you guys check it out. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you. I always look forward to it. Enjoy chopping it up with you.
You got it. All right, guys, we will see you next week on the Mark Hoke Show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, Las Vegas. And make sure you download this podcast, markhokeshow.podbean.com. Follow us on X/Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show. We've got all sorts of terrific stuff up there, live streams, and, of course, our clips and everything else. We'll see you next week. Have a great day, Las Vegas. Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show. Like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show. And visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show, and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.